family, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways, family, and that you're moving into living life really in your own narrative, and you're just becoming more and more and more aware of how the nature of the reality that we're leaving behind or wanting to push behind, so we can all, be custodians of this new earth, this new dispensation, this new life. And there's always so much unease whenever we have elections. There's been, there's this tension. I won't even call it a little tension here in Kenya, where we're just hoping we don't go into chaos, that the chaos spirit is not unleashed. It won't be unleashed, of course. And I just did a video of please pray for Kenya and please pray for Angola. I really hope you did. Angola is also having elections in this season. But I think it's time that we recognize, family, that a lot of these things are won spiritually. For so long we've been kept at an infantile stage in our spirituality. But a lot of our politicians, a lot of our presidents, a lot of our, for those who have governors, for those who have members of parliament and all the different roles, mayors, whatever, a lot of these roles, family, are won through some kind of assistance from different entities, and unfortunately many end up being the nefarious entities. And there's different principalities, family, that the different politicians use and employ, and they will kind of sell a bit of their soul to that entity in return for becoming a member of parliament, in return for becoming president, and they'll come into an agreement. And unfortunately, a lot of the presidents that we've had and have currently that are kind of phasing out have been part of the brotherhood, of the Masonic Brotherhood and other secret societies. And this is something they don't disclose. It would be so nice if people would disclose what secret societies they belong to. And that's why, family, a lot of them make deals literally with devil energies or with devil spirits, which require death, destruction, blood, sacrifice in order for them to give you assistance. Either you sacrifice your own life, you sacrifice a family member's life, you sacrifice a community's life, there's many things that the different kinds of agreements that different entities come into. And we see it manifesting physically in terms of there's still a very heavy colonial hand over the running of politics. Like now, I mentioned in a previous episode how Babylon had wanted a particular political candidate to win, to win the election. It didn't happen. He was he lost. And he actually wanted to, because he knew he was the preferred candidate for Babylon, he had talked about going onto the streets and demonstrating. He was calling it a prayer vigil and stuff. But it's just the typical playbook of like unleashing that chaos spirit, getting people to go out on the streets, and then you release some energy. Your entity will do this. Your entity or your principality will do the rest. And people partner with different spirits. Leviathan spirit is one of the biggest, like the Musevenis of these worlds, family. They're using that Leviathan spirit from Lake Victoria, heavy. Stories for other days. So there's different spirits. I'm sure in West Africa, you guys are very aware of the entities that the different presidents use, and they worship these entities. These entities give them power, but then when they come to collect, it's a whole other, it's a whole other thing. There's also that corruption. Corruption is an entity. It represents the corrupt nature of the agreement that was signed to bring that person to presidency. And as I was saying, so the neocolonial hand, a lot of them, you see, when they came over 100 years ago and they put their lodges in different nations, it was a lot about, Luciferian worship, etc., etc. But and I know Lucifer, Morning Star, it could even be a woman. There's so many stories that could be. That's a whole other, but just, the code words, family. Just listen to the code words. And they use these energies, this destroyer energies, these, who knows what beings and entities they engaged in. And so all elections are won spiritually. And in fact, family, I even stopped voting when I found this out. When I found, like, as a spiritual being, as a prophet and a seer for Kenya, I don't need to go to the ballot box. I can make my intentions known to the nation. Because prophets, sometimes you're given the grace to speak to the nation. And there are other spiritual generals who vote from the comfort of their living rooms or of their homes, of their lives, from the comfort of their lives. But there are also high level wizards and witches who are doing the same thing. And these guys use a lot of moon magic. Like if you check, Kenya's election, it used to be in December because a lot of people have registered in their villages and stuff, but they work in the cities. So it would kind of be in December. So a lot of people could go home. And while they were there for Christmas, they could also vote. But it was moved to 9th August, family, the day after Lionsgate. You think that's an accident? Like, how occult is that? And, like now the new moon just happened in Virgo, almost a day after. Because a lot of these guys are using that moon magic, whatever that artificial move, whatever moon it is, whatever energy it's projecting, whatever entity it is, a lot of them use that moon magic, or they connect to their principalities through that moon magic. And so you'll see immediately after the new moon, he now launched this new thing of, he's going to have demonstrations across the country, so on and so forth. So family, when you start looking at elections, even in your own country, you will start to notice the occult nature. Ask for your mind's eye to be open so that you can connect the dots, family. And when you do, you'll start seeing how, nearly every politician has lost a child. And it's just like, wait, how did that happen? Or every time around this season, there's certain accidents. Because there's several members of parliament who have died in car crashes and weird things like that. What's really going on, family? And the reason I share this is because I want us to stop being naive as a people, because I see, like we all see, the crazy lines of our people as they go to vote, And I sometimes wonder, have you prayed before you went to even do that physical thing, which is already manipulated? The reason they have the ballot box is so that they can get your energy to be in agreement of their process. So if you decide to vote for one candidate over the another, you're not really voting for one candidate over another, because these are selections, they're not elections, but you're voting for the process. You're voting to still be under that political regime. That's why they want you to vote, so that you can be in agreement. And because you're in agreement, you can give them they say the mandate, but more the spiritual mandate and the spiritual authority to rule the nation, both spiritually and physically, for the next 4 or 5 years. And so we know, family, that a lot of these politicians, they're the puppets. They're in the brotherhood. Many of them are Luciferians. They're just doing all kinds of crazy things because power corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. And there's nothing, that African absolute power is sweet. So you could see, like currently here, our current president has even refused to congratulate the president-elect because it's not his candidate. And they're wondering, hey, principalities, what went wrong? Where did this get messed up? So I share this to say, family, that we have to start fighting these political battles more on the spiritual front, by putting our aspirations and our intentions, for speaking them, using the power of our tongue to speak them into the nation through our prayers, getting our children to speak peace, love, and unity to the nation through their daily prayers, through, their innocent and pure spirits. That we ask for spiritual discernment so that we can see the different principalities that are being used against the nation. As I told you, in Kenya, for example, there are 4 main principalities. And then there's also now the other one that was brought in, Ambe, the goddess of war, who people call Harambe, but it's actually Hail Ambe. That's a whole other story. And these principalities, they want blood, they want sacrifice, they want human souls in order to give these presidents power. But the angelic realm can also be employed to help leaders of righteousness come to power. And it's time for us to orient ourselves to think like politics is spiritual first. It's governing the mental. So obviously it's happening on the mental level, even on the spiritual level. It's a selection process. And it's really battled out in the spiritual realms. As I told you, the one that Babylon didn't want was told, hey, it's not your turn. He didn't listen. And he's really being backed up by the evangelicals. So no, if you're trying to change your nation by voting physically alone, that's not going to work. And even understand voting is consent. So you'll see a lot of awakened people don't actually vote, family, because they don't want to commit. They don't want to be part of that agreement. So learn to see, to discern. Because you see, the burden that was placed on me in this election, and probably many others, there's many multiple things that are happening in Kenya because it's the seat of revival. And so there's many principalities that also don't want to see that happen because they've been siphoning off the energy of the people and the land. And so for me, I was given the burden to pray against the spirit of chaos, the principality of chaos, the Jezebel spirit that is ruling this nation, the Ambe spirit that is ruling this nation. These are the hidden like demon goddesses, family. And you know who I called on? Sekhmet. If you're gonna have chaos, you know the highest of that chaos spirit is Sekhmet. But you know, and others, you know, they've been praying to the Most High, whoever you pray to. But I made my intentions known, and I'm standing in the gap that, you know, Kenya will be peaceful. And there's many others who are fasting, who are praying. And collectively, our energy has come together, and it's maintained peace above everything in this nation. Like there's been no bloodshed, there's been no wildness. It's actually been so peaceful. But it's like we're fighting for that peace. We're holding that door to keep it shut against the spirit of chaos. So there's many spirits that these politicians will engage in this season. And there's many articles that have been done of how during elections, all kinds of juju men come from Nigeria, Cameroon, Benin, Togo, Tanzania, South Africa, the Sangomas. They all come to work with these, to work with these principalities. And that's why you rarely see the will of the people being executed. You rarely see the politicians able to actually come and fulfill their mandate because they have spiritual mandates that they have to fulfill first. And if the spiritual mandate is not aligned with what they told the people, then the spiritual mandate overrides that, and what they told the people takes, and that's why so many people are like, you come, you make promises, and then you don't do anything for 5 years. Because there are principalities that want things to remain the same, and they are locked in with those principalities in an agreement, in a marriage. So if we want Africa to be liberated, we have to go for the governments. And the only way to turn around these governments is spiritually, through prayer, through fasting, through affirmations, through all kinds of, whatever work you do. And may these principalities also be exposed, because they only succeed because they operate in the background. And may these agreements be exposed because they only succeed because they operate in the background. And what you see, family, if you stand against the principalities that are ruling your nation, you'll see these politicians fall. You'll see these politicians lose power. They won't be able to come and tell the youth to destroy their own nation or whatever. And this is where we have to start. We have to start with these politicians and defeating them spiritually, so that now we can go for the colonialists and defeat their spell work. Because these are their proxies. These are the home guards. These are the face of the neocolonialists. And if you go for them and cut them at the root, which means cut their principality, destroy and totally decimate the principality that they've made an agreement with, then now you'll start to remove that stronghold of the neocolonial order. Nothing in Africa is about physical decisions or law or democracy or fair elections. Nothing, family. There's no independence here. Decisions have already been made. And that's what I was going to say. So when the loser of Kenya's election, when he said he wanted to do a vigil across the country, which is demonstrations all across the country, literally, spiritually, I saw it as unleashing that spirit. There are rumors and allegations that a diplomatic call was made because it's not in the interest of the Babylonians to see Kenya burn. So he was told, hold your horses. And then like 2 hours later, we saw, oh, you know, we're not going to demonstrate anymore. Let's wait and see what the courts may say. Because they feel they've manipulated the courts enough, bribed the courts enough. But still, family, the spirit is so powerful that they can pay all the money they want to the judges. But you, if you are an authority in your nation, you can stand and you can say, may the justice and will of the people override any individual principality that is trying to govern these people. And some may say, okay, we'll elect a new leader or a new leader, spiritually elect a new leader, put a new leader in place, and then they'll be overridden. It's because we don't protect our leaders spiritually. There are covens that are controlling the minds of our leaders, that control everything physically, spiritually, every angle of their life. Some of them, they control it with these covens. So if you're not a wizard yourself, there's wizards that are controlling you. So we have to fight for those ones to be dismantled, especially in election season, because they want power by any means necessary. They will kill, they will destroy, they will steal. The only reason is Kenya is like a cosmic darling. Can I say that? Kenya is a very important gate, let me put it like that, spiritual gate for what is coming with the new dispensation, and also for the demonic realm. And so it's not in Babylon's interest for Kenya to fight. So they'll still try and weasel their way, but they will also eventually back up. They'll and try and get the guy in another way. But these are the things we should be praying against. The principalities that want the blood of our children, the blood of our youth, that create distraction and delusions in our leaders and us, because it's like all these spirits. You see, jealousy is a principality. Greed is a principality. The demon of greed loves to come and experience greed through other people. Gluttony is a principality. Corruption is a principality. There are spirits of corruption that will put themselves into our leaders so that they can experience that ultimate corruption, and they just can corrupt and destroy everything, the aspirations of a nation. Pray for your leaders daily, family, that the Spirit of the Most High will override any voices, demonic voices or spirit of anything that is trying to misdirect them or misguide them against the people. And of course, we continue to stand firm in the new dispensation that revival must come. And we stand firm in that affirmation as Kenya goes to the Supreme Court hearing. But family, just be aware of these things. That's why so many Kenyans right now are in fasting. We're actually creating a prayer chain. I heard one of the pastors from South Africa who's had a burden for our nation for so long about creating this, it's already there though, but it's good that he even brought it to people's attention even more. Where there is not a minute that is going back, where somebody somewhere is not upholding this nation spiritually. And that needs to become a way of life. And eventually, family, the shrines will be restored. And there will be perpetual praise and praise and worship to the Most High and to the angelic realm, so that becomes the quote-unquote principality over our nations. Right now, family, we're fighting for the soul of many nations. So whenever you hear a country is going into election, pray for that country, pray for the leadership, and pray that the highest will of the Most High will, be the will that wins. Because they've already rigged it, but the Most High can also rig it because it's an energetic thing. Which is why the principalities of Kenya, as I wind up, they were so sure that was going to win. The principalities were so sure, and they're shocked that it didn't happen because spiritually in the heavenlies, there was an overturn. Tuko pamoja.